For much of known and written history, women have had subordinate roles.
One of the large forces in the last century for global growth has been the rise of women.
How do we create a vision that people will see the value of this need to change?
Globally, 96% of the health gap has been closed, 93% of the education gap, 60% of the economic participation gap, and only about 19% of the political gap. The World Economic Forum has helped drive the conversation, not just looking at the rights of one half of the population. This is an underuse of one half of the world's human capital.
As more and more companies and countries pay attention to talent, the issue of gender parity becomes more and more important.
Is it going to help the bottom line? Because it's very much related to competitiveness.
Companies that have more diversity in their organizations have a higher return. They're more profitable.
In 2006, we launched the Global Gender Gap Report to measure how our country's ranking in terms of closing the gender gap. It's brought on board governments and CEOs that weren't paying attention to this issue before.
The top management of the large corporations are very much aware of the need, but they don't know what to do.
And that resulted in the repository of successful practices.
A summarization of a lot of initiatives that have been done by companies and other institutions to actually eliminate that gap.
We launched 3 pilot country-level task forces with the public sector, the private sector, the most influential organizations at the national level.
We first want to try to document what each company is trying to do, what the best practices are, and then start disseminating that throughout the task force.
Businesses have to learn from each other and governments have to learn from each other.
Şimdi yeni hedefimiz rol modelleri çoğaltmak ve iyi örnekleri güçlendirmek.
The idea here is to take these 3 countries, Mexico, Japan, and Turkey, and closing economic gender gaps by 10% in 3 years, and then replicate this as models.
Mainstream the question of gender equality into all our policies.
The opportunity today is to scale up and to make a real difference.
And I think that's the area where we can make a big impact.
Whatever successes come out of this experiment, we're going to package that into a toolkit and make that available to other countries.
We're starting to not just discuss it, but see progress being made.
You have this momentum for change and you have the ask for change.
That's not the end of the road, but it's certainly a major milestone.
Gender inequality doesn't make sense on any level. By marginalizing the rights of women, we deny ourselves the opportunity to lift millions of men, women, and children out of poverty, not to mention the chance of a just and fair world. From birth, girls and boys, women and men are expected by society to play certain roles and behave in certain ways based on traditions, religion, and other beliefs. These behaviors are learned and shape the gender norms in a society. Unfortunately, in many countries, gender norms create disadvantages for women. Often, girls are not sent to school. When they become women, they then have limited ability to earn money or realize their potential. Rural women play a major role in agricultural development. However, in many developing countries, women cannot formally own land. Without land, they cannot get loans to invest in their farms or businesses. This also means they have no control over the use of land or the benefits that come from it. Men generally control the household decisions, like how to use the family's assets. These disadvantages are often reinforced by practices that limit women's access to services, like training. Cultural beliefs can also restrict women's opportunities, such as in parts of Zambia where women cannot paddle their boats as it is considered bad omen. The result of these issues? Women remain poor and agricultural production cannot reach its potential, perpetuating poverty and hunger in the developing world. The social norms that limit women's opportunities need to be understood and then changed. By taking a gender transformative approach, we can influence social norms and bridge the gaps in access to resources and services between men and women in a lasting manner. Change is needed on many levels, and both men and women must be involved for it to happen. Research and development organizations need to invest in programs that promote gender equality alongside improving productivity and incomes. Policies need to be implemented that increase women's access to services and resources. Communities need to support women as farmers and as leaders. Increasing women's voice and agency is a valuable end in its own right. When development organizations, policies, and communities support the success of women, we have a chance to reduce extreme poverty and boost shared prosperity for girls and boys, women and men around the world.
In order for the world to close gender gaps, it's very important that we track them and measure them over time. This report tries to do exactly that. We try to understand the gaps between women and men on health, education, economic participation, and political empowerment. We're trying to understand whether women have the same rights and opportunities as men, regardless of whether they're in rich countries or poor countries. In 2014, we cover 142 economies. While no country in the world has fully closed the gender gap, the Nordic countries have closed over 80% of it. Iceland, Finland, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark occupy the top 5 spots in the rankings. Rwanda enters the rankings for the first time this year. The Philippines, at number 9, is the highest ranking Asian country. The US comes back into the top 20, while the UK slips down to 26. Out of the BRICS countries, South Africa is the highest ranking country at number 18, followed by Brazil at 71, Russia at 75, China at 87, and India at 114. Out of the Arab countries, Kuwait is the highest ranking at 113, followed by the UAE at 115. The bottom 3 countries remain Chad, Pakistan, and Yemen. We now have 9 years of data, almost a decade worth of information. Out of the 111 countries that have been covered since 2006, 105 have been making progress. What's also positive is where the change is coming from. Saudi Arabia, relative to itself, is the country that has made the most progress on economic participation. In the case of education, it's Burkina Faso. But there are countries that are falling backwards. 30% of countries are losing the gains they've made on education, and nearly 40% are moving backwards on health. People and their talents are the key resource that drives most economies. But the benefits of gender equality go beyond the economic case. Women are 1/2 of the world's population. They deserve equal access to health, education, earning potential, and political empowerment. Because ultimately, gender equality is a vital part of humanity's progress.
1915 or 2015, 75 million girls under 14 are child laborers.
And which year do you think that's true of?
I think it would be 1915.
Women make up 70% of the population, living on less than $1 a day.
Is a fact true in 1915 or 2015?
I think 1915.
62 million girls don't get to go to school. I think it would actually be true in 1915.
2 out of every 3 people who can't read or write are women. I feel like it's 1915 because now we educate everybody.
Childbirth is the second leading cause of death, with girls between ages 15 and 19.
And which year do you think that's true of?
1915.
What if I told you you're wrong?
I wouldn't really believe you. Is it really wrong?
It is. I don't know why.
That's sad. We are equal, but for some weird reason, we're not seen that way.
Every day, 39,000 girls are forced to marry before they turn 18. Women get paid less than men for the same work. About 1 in 3 women will be physically or sexually abused by their partners. Many of the injustices against women that were intolerable 100 years ago
are still happening today. We cannot wait another 100 years. We have to change today.
so our daughters have a better tomorrow. What's your hope for future generations of women? Use the hashtag #HopeForOurDaughters to share the hope on Instagram. For every post, Focus Features will donate to Equality Now.
Visit fightsnotover.com and join the fight for equality.
Alltså vem fan är det alltså? På riktigt, vem fan är det alltså? På riktigt.
Men Aj!
Vem är det som bestämmer? Va? Du fattar att du måste lyssna på mig, okej? Du fattar du va? Va? Eller hur? Fattar du det eller? Du ska fan lyssna på mig, det fattar du va? Du ska fan döda dig, fattar du? Du ska dö! Sorry.
I'm gonna call the police if you touch her again.
Thank you for reacting. You're the only one who has reacted today.
It's a social experiment.
It's a social experiment?
Yeah. I can't believe people are not reacting. You're the only one who not reacted.
You're like a hero. Thank you so much.
Bye.
The poor performance of British girls in science shows that the UK has one of the biggest gender gaps in the world. It means when it comes to the big science and engineering jobs, many girls are stepping back, allowing their male counterparts to take up the roles instead. The OECD used the PISA system of measuring international attainment. It found that girls were being denied the chance to take up highly paid careers in industry and science because of sexist attitudes and poor teaching. 16-year-old Alex and her classmate Chloe have very different views about what each are capable of achieving.
Not sure whether I'd take a career in it. It's not like I don't think I'm very good at it.
Why not?
Apart from the experiments, I can't really do it, I don't think.
Rocket scientist?
No.
Brain surgeon?
No.
Aerospace engineer?
No.
I'd love to help people, and like, what if I could help cure cancer by using science? I wouldn't let anything hold me back. No, if I want to do something, I'll do it.
The report found that assumptions such as girls are better at reading and boys are better at doing just aren't true.
The gap between UK boys and girls' performance in the PISA science test was 13%. Compared to all other 67 countries, the rate was just 1%. Here at this school, the gap is far narrower. But why is that the case?
Teachers say they're wiping out the stereotypes.
If you talk to anybody outside the science community and ask them to explain what a scientist is or what an engineer is, they'll come up with the stereotypical male in the lab coat, bit geeky, what have you, and the girls try and step back from that. And what we do here is we try and quell that myth and promote science and engineering and technology and maths in a gender-friendly way.
Jenny Westworth is an aeronautical engineer. It might be her dream job, but she says it wasn't an easy career choice for a woman.
I think it's where engineering, manufacturing or construction is perceived. They're all seen as male-dominated environments where I think you wear a boiler suit, a hard hat and get covered in oil all day.
Among the solutions now being considered are so-called gender policies to challenge old stereotypes that jobs for boys can also mean jobs for girls too. Nick Martin, Sky News, Lancashire.
I was just walking down the pavement one day and I didn't look behind me because there was plenty of space for them to walk past. And then just suddenly felt a hand that grabbed me from behind. I was wearing jeans but pushing up between my legs, and how violating that feels. Feeling all of the things that I thought I would say in that situation flying out of the window, just how much that sense of shame stays with you. I realised that women weren't talking about this, myself included. We felt it was something that was so normal that we just had to accept it. Each woman has her own way of fighting back. So I set the website up because I hoped if enough women put their stories in one place, people would be able to see what was going on. And I thought that maybe 10 or 20 or 100 of my friends would add their stories. What happened online was that every one of them had a story. Maybe one of them put it on her Twitter or her Tumblr, and that was another 500 people who had a story, and it just spread. And I was just blown away. You can't silence somebody when they have 25,000 other voices behind them saying, I believe you, and it's happened to me too.
I've had experiences of sexual harassment since I was a teenager, really.
I was 14.
At 13?
Probably first started noticing it when I was about 11 or 12.
I know it's weird, but I'd be in a school uniform and a little kilt and...
The logo and the matching colours and everything. I didn't have makeup on, I didn't do my hair. I probably looked about 12.
A middle-aged man came and sat next to me. Along the journey he started saying I was pretty.
Looking me up and down, smiling, laughing, nudging each other, staring at me.
During this, strange man took the opportunity to come up to me and grasp me firmly by the breasts.
He just was staring at us and he got out his mobile phone and well, that was it. Oh, I'm sorry.
I noticed after perhaps a stop or two that he was getting aroused.
And then eventually he started stroking my leg and I told him to stop.
I went out to collect some glasses and this guy said, "Oh, you want to give me a blowjob?" "Come on, love, don't be shy." And then I said, actually, I think in this case I will be. And if you object, then you're a bitch, you're a whore.
Then he started masturbating in front of me and my best friend.
I just thought he was trying to get himself under control, and this probably isn't happening.
I don't know, it just sort of scared me so much that I didn't want to trouble anyone about it, and I didn't get up and I didn't shout at him or anything. It was just...
And it wasn't till I got to work that I found semen down the back of my legs.
I spoke to my male friend and I said, "Oh my gosh, you'll never believe what just happened to me. This person grabbed me and I'm really scared." And he was like, "Oh, Sheila, stop making such a big deal. You must have just looked really sexy." And I thought, oh, maybe it was my fault. And then from that point on, I never really said anything. So it was kind of like I was silenced when it happened, and then I was silenced again because I felt like speaking out against it was pointless because maybe it was my fault. It's really hard to speak out about it.
Almost normal to just sort of be quiet about something like that.
Because of social media, we're able to join together the strength of women who are able to speak out, and that's what they're able to do. And then the strength of women who are able to take those stories and maybe write blogs about them or share them or talk to their friends, and that's the part that they're able to play. And it brings together all these people from around the world, and they're all doing their bit. I'll try and read them at the speed that they're coming in just for a minute to give you a sense of how quickly this is coming in. Since 11, been beeped and shouted at, groped front and back and started on by men multiple times. Age 15, had a 30-year-old co-worker pick me up and throw me on top of a pallet because I was too pretty to keep my cherry. Waitressing, customer dropped something on the floor. When I bent to pick it up, he forced my head onto his grimly erect penis. It's too quick, I can't keep up with it, but that's how quickly it's coming in. I think so much of what's happened in the way it's snowballed has been thanks to social media and women being able to access it from anywhere in the world, and being able to report really quickly, being able to be in the street and someone shouts at you and you can zap a tweet off on your mobile phone. That's made a huge difference, I think. This is a very tiny living room where most of the Everyday Sexism Project happens from. The tour of the flat will take a grand total of approximately 5 seconds. As you can see, it's pretty tiny. And this is Nick, and the tiny garden that keeps me sane when it's sunny enough to sit in it.
I haven't seen this with all the flags on the side.
Oh yeah, look.
It looks amazing.
Because of the internet, which is an absolutely amazing thing and has allowed me to reach all of these women, there's also an open channel there which is constantly used by people who want to hurt you and make you feel unhappy and make you feel unsafe. There were people writing messages to me about how they would kill me very precisely and how I should be raped and what should be done to me. About 200 of them a day, because I'm moderating, I have to read them all because I'm reading everything that does or doesn't go on the site. And then you think you're fine, and then you're in bed at night and it just goes round and round in your head. Of course, it reinforces what you're doing, and it also made me feel angry, and it made me stronger, and it absolutely confirmed for me the importance of what I was doing. This is the brand new international versions of the website. That's the translation for the Spanish version, just in time. We had one woman who wrote in to say that she was walking past a building site and some builders shouted, "Get your tits out," and a guy that was on the other side of the road lifted his t-shirt up to kind of like step in. Happy birthday, Everyday Sexism, changing the world one tweet at a time. One man wrote to say that he actually ran down the street when he saw another guy shouting at some women and just tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Can I just ask you, why did you do that?" And the other guy just looked at him and had no idea what to say, had no answer. Every time that one person just stops and questions something like that, that's a real difference that we're making.
Oh my God, just the amount of stuff that's always on it, it just bombards you and you're just like, wow.
When I read the entries, I'd never talked about any of the things that had happened to me ever. Someone said something to me in the street, I now feel like I have the weight of that community behind me because I know that there are so many women out there who are doing the same thing.
A really supportive group of people who are saying that this is not right.
It's made me feel more comfortable about saying something and standing up for myself, because I just know that if other women can and they can be taken seriously, then I should as well, and that I have the power to do that and try and make a difference.
We only each have to do one small thing, and all of those things put together make a real concrete difference. So in one day, 10,000 people, men and women from around the world have joined us. It's the power of women's voices and their stories and how much they care. They're shouting back and people are listening.
Get your ass out, mate.
What's that?
I look good right there. I look good right
Nice arms, mate! I really like your trousers. They look better on my bedroom floor. Would you like to come home with me? Have you guys ever made out with each other? Right, sexy! Hi.
Sorry.
Yeah. I am looking. I'm doing it in my bathroom. I'm looking for grouting.
Yeah. Well,
do you have any? Sorry. Do you have a woman that works here? Could help me.
No.
You don't.
No.
Okay. So it's just I'd rather. Just they might know a bit more.
Well, what do you need?
No, no offence, but is there no women that work here? No. Oh. Do you fancy going home with me?
Are you playing, right?
Oi boys, get your asses out! Get your asses out!
I look good right there. I look good right there. Exactly the way you wish you could.
What red wine have you got, please?
These are all our red wines, actually.
Oh, okay.
The house is at the far left, the Temple of Light.
Can I get a glass of that and a lap dance?
What's that? I can't, I'm walking right now.
Oh, okay.
What's wrong?
Nothing, I just thought maybe we could have some fun.
Wow. No, it's a nice offer, but I'm just going to pass, you know what I mean?
Alright. Lap dance?
How do you make that?
You do a dance?
Right.
No? Just a little... Alright, darling! Do you guys wax or shave down there?
Shave. Part of my body.
You know, around your mate.
Why are you asking this?
I'm just asking. I was just wondering if you wanted to go home with me?
Wrong with you?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Hi. Hello. Would you like to come back to my house with me?
No, I'm very
Are you sure?
Yes. Thank you.
Are you gay? Can I have a Hendrix and Slimline tonic? And also a, you know.
No, I don't know.
Hi. Have you guys ever made out with each other?
Sorry?
I said, have you ever made out with each other?
Made out? What?
Come on, you know what I mean.
No.
You know.
No, I don't know. Northern Line northbound is the best way.
Northern Line northbound, okay.
And then straight to Camden Town.
Yeah. I think those trousers would look better on my bedroom floor.
I think so. Shoot. Actually, maybe not.
Oh.
Yeah, you can come to mine, you want?
Okay.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Just like that?
Yeah.
Okay, I need to go to the bank first.
I look good right there.